Big Sills. We're getting knee deep into the startup of the NFL season, aren't we? Week 2 of the exhibition season. And usually weeks 2 and 3, that's where you get the bulk of your work in as you get ready for game 1 and week 1. You start to get the roster prepared. You start to get everyone that you're going to have as 2s and 3s. You start to get rotations in order. You're really starting to get more of a sense of your roster and understanding of what you have compared to what you didn't have a year ago. Look, the great thing about the NFL is every single season, no matter who you are, no matter if you're the Chiefs, the Eagles, every year is different because this is not like your dad's NFL. The salary cap and all the movement that you have with teams nowadays compared to what you had, hell, as much as 10 years ago, it's a constant turnover. I would say that of all the sports that you have in the country, that the NFL is the biggest turnover year in and year out of any league. And I think this is what makes it competitive. I think this is what makes it interesting for the fans. You could have a shitty team like the Bears, and within 3 years, you might be in the Super Bowl. That's what makes the NFL great. They're always concerned about the crap teams. That's why they get the top picks in the draft every year. Okay? So, again, I appreciate everybody coming aboard. Thank you again. James, welcome back, man. Thank you for coming back. Appreciate it. Must be football season for you, right? Thank you, James. All good, man. So I had a chance to talk with Tracy Rocker, the Eagle D-line coach. By the way, welcome aboard, Eagle coaches and some of the personnel staff. We're hearing that the majority of you and the bulk of you guys watch our show religiously. And you guys sit in your meeting rooms sometimes watching us. That's really great to hear. We thank you. And I was talking with some folks there at the NovaCare Center, and the Eagle offense struggled versus the Cleveland Brown defense. There's very few weaknesses on that defense in Cleveland. Okay? There's very few weaknesses. And the majority of the time, great defenses are going to be ahead of offenses, no matter how good your offense is early part of the season. It's just what it is until you get a rhythm going. Being an offensive juggernaut, man, you can't just turn that switch on and off. It takes a lot of practice. You've got to get into rhythm. Eagles will be fine. But here's the problem. You can't have bad practices if you're the offensive side of the ball, if you're Philly, because you're going to be leaned on so heavily in the first quarter of the season. I would say maybe even first 2 quarters of the season. At least half the games to carry that football team until that defense is ready. Now, this is what you have with these controlled scrimmages against the Browns. What's the most notable thing that you have when you're scrimmaging the Cleveland Browns? Does anyone know? Okay. 11 goes, no one's playing. Jordan Mailata got his ass kicked. He played. Don't say nobody played to cover for weakness. It's okay. It's not. I'm going to tell you how we're going to get there. What are you talking about? Jordan Mailata was beaten like he was a turnstile. But that's okay. What do you have at this joint practices in these controlled scrimmages? What do you have? Miles got hurt, John. What do you have? And do you guys have any idea who the Cleveland Browns are? They have arguably the first or second best offensive line coach also in the NFL in Callahan. Callahan is one of the absolutely best coaches And there's two coaches in the National Football League that are the two best offensive line coaches, Stoutland and Callahan. And they're there at the NovaCare Center today. So you're going to get pretty competitive, and they're going to be working on an awful lot of stuff during the exhibition season. That's why the Browns O-line kind of got taken a little bit to task by the Eagle D-line and vice versa. They're working on a lot of new things. Different steps maybe, screen games, middle screens, short passing game. You know, it could be numerous things. But you have the two best offensive line coaches in the National Football League today facing one another. So it's going to be competitive. And I've said this before, the only thing that Cleveland Browns, and we're going to look at the Browns here in a minute, because that's your game on Thursday. I'm not starting the program out bent in any way. Not starting it out bent in any way. No, not where we are here. You've got good coaches and good players. The Browns are good. I'll say this to you. I don't believe there's a weakness on their defense. I think their linebacking core is really good. I think their front four is great. I think their secondary is really good. And now you have also Jim Schwartz as the coordinator, which means it's going to be a little bit more aggressive. That's a good football unit. The Browns can play. They got some people. They just got to go out and figure out if they're going to have more W's in the W column or going back to being the 7-10 team that they were a year ago. They got to get out there and play. And the Eagles are working on all kinds of things offensively. What makes sense for the Eagles right now? What would be the biggest weakness that the Eagles have right now? What would be their biggest weakness, you think? What would be their biggest weakness on offense? Let's go there. What would be the biggest weakness? I don't think they throw the ball enough down the field. Now, it's not their MO and it's not their identity. Okay? They threw the ball 450 times. That's not a lot in today's NFL. That's just not a lot. They play low percentage turnover football. They don't play high percentage plays. That's not what they do. They're comfortable with Jalen Hurts hanging around 22 touchdowns. As long as that number's at 6 picks, they're good with that all day, especially if he rolls up double-digit touchdowns in running. They're okay with that. By the way, I've become more of a fan of this. If Jalen Hurts gets hurt running the ball, so be it. But I'm not going to stop him from running the ball and taking away an asset that makes him an A-plus player. So I completely decided to land on this side of the aisle with this. You run that SOB until that guy's wheels fall off like he's Secretariat. I am not going to put guardrails on Jalen Hurts. Run that guy as much as you can because you know why? Here's the most important thing with Jalen Hurts and running the ball. I trust him. I wouldn't say that. If my quarterback was Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, I would not say that. I would not feel comfortable with those guys being able to protect themselves. And I would have a problem with that. Okay? But I trust Hurts. I trust him to get down. Jalen's going to run out of bounds to play another play. Allen's going to stick his head in there as Lamar is. Maybe he doesn't get up. That's not the quarterback I want. That's not good decision-making. Jalen Hurts knows he's more important to the Eagles in Week 17 than he is in Week 1. Those other guys haven't figured that out yet. And probably that's what separates them. And easily one of the reasons he has $50 million a year in the bank now. You run that guy until that guy's wheels fall off. Because in the process, he may win you a couple Super Bowls. If Jalen Hurts only plays 8 years and he lands on 2 Super Bowls, and he blows his knee out, is it worth it? Yeah. 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 15 years. How about this? So if you're Michael Vick and you played all those years, was it successful? I guess if you're a Madden fan, what's the sense of playing 15 years if you don't win the ultimate prize? Because you thought you were saving yourself. What's the point of it? Okay. Michael Vick underachieved. As great a talent as he was, he didn't win anything. What's the point? What is the point? So, I'm thinking last night about Hurts and the running. And I used to be on that. Hey, let's see if we can have him run less. Now, and the Eagles' actions in the offseason also led me to believe that they want him to run. Or they would have drafted Bijan Robinson. Seals, do you think Hurts or Vick is a Hall of Famer? No. Watch this. Umberto, you know what sucks? Does he have Hall of Fame talent? Yes. Yes. He'll go down as one of those guys like Bo Jackson. There's not a better, I have never seen a better running back in the last 35 years than Bo Jackson. Nobody ran 3.940s at 250 pounds and had breakaway speed and power like him. Nobody. But do you know he'll never go to any Hall of Fame, baseball or football? He's the greatest back I've ever played against or seen. You can have Hall of Fame talent, but a non-Hall of Fame resume because of circumstances. Okay? Bo was exceptional. 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 So for me, run this guy. Gets hurt, it's football. He could easily get hurt just by someone rolling up on his backside and blowing his knee out. Or like Zach Wilson last year, just running out in open space and the Grim Reaper jumps off the carpet and gets you. It can happen. Okay? No doubt. So, some of the takeaways from the practice, it's a good football team. Don't be disappointed. It happens. Hey, Jordan Mailata getting beat. Here's the difference with this year versus last. What's going to be the difference this year for the Eagles compared to last year? Supposedly, the way people were talking, the Browns probably could have had 10 sacks in that game or in those controlled scrimmages. They could have had 10 sacks. What's the difference this year? What's the difference? I'm going to make another point to you here in a minute, too, about those new coordinators. Then we're going to get into the topics. What's the difference? The difference this year, they've got game tape on you. So you've got to elevate and continue to expand your game. That's why the Eagles are working on other things. These coordinators now have tape on Hurts. You can't do the same shit you did last year because they're too good. They're too smart. There's too much good personnel. You're not going to have the same success if you just stay stagnant and not try to elevate your game. And by elevating your game is working on all the things. Horrible screen game last year, right? Not really anything on him. The Eagles just didn't do it. Work on the screen game. Tom Brady made a Hall of Fame career out of checkdowns. The Eagles are not a checkdown team. Not that you want one, but you want to have an option. Add that to the team. My God almighty, that's why I said earlier today when I went on Sports Take, if you get Swift in a checkdown game, man, I don't know. How do you defend that? The only way you're going to be able to defend the Eagles is if the Eagles have injuries. Swift, Goddard. By the way, you want to hear something great that came off the Eagle practice against the Browns? They had no answer for Dallas Goedert. They had no answer for him. They couldn't cover him. Every single time he had a block and release, they could not cover him. That's great to hear, because that means they're covering the Y and Z. They're looking at the back, and Goddard's running up the seam. Can't cover everybody. Can't cover everybody. That's great to hear. They said they struggled, the Browns did, on covering him. They had no answer for him. Okay? No answer for Dallas Goedert. By the way, Dave Wanstadt's going to join us at 4:30 Eastern time. He's the man that recruited and developed Aaron Donald at Pitt. He also recruited Cortez Kennedy, Russell Maryland. I played for him. Jerome Brown played for him. This man knows what a defensive tackle looks like. Recruited Tony Casillas, and he's going to tell you the intangibles that you need to have to play defensive tackle. We've been talking about Jordan Davis, and I'm going to get to him here in a second before we get to the Browns here. So you're practicing against a really good football team. Really a great football team. 11 goes like this: practice, who cares? Keep that attitude up with all your new faces on defense, and you'll get your asses pushed in against New England. You keep that attitude up. Do you think that people practice for shits and giggles, just to shits and giggles practice? Why do you think they do it? Why do it if it doesn't mean anything? Why do it if it doesn't mean anything? You know, the most idiotic thing I hear people say, well, it's only practice. Then why do it? Then why give a max effort? Then why hone your skills? Then why should Jalen Hurts work hard then? Why should he prepare himself then? If you're a guy like 11, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit about preparing yourself properly? Communication. Identifying. Who cares? That's the attitude that gets your ass beat. That's the attitude that gets your faces kicked in or upset in a game you should win. You practice for perfection. Trying to do it every single day so it becomes common practice for you without even having your eyes open. That's why you do it. You want to get your team in a rhythm. People who say it's only practice, it's why Iverson never lived up to his full potential. And as many of you know, I'm an Iverson guy. Okay? It's the reason Shaq wasn't the greatest and most dominant player of all time. Practice makes perfect. Being perfect takes practice. Remember that. In anything you do in your life, okay? Philly goes, players aren't going to bust their ass in a controlled scrimmage. Oh, so you think that's what Jordan Mailata did? He wanted to be embarrassed 6 times by Myles Garrett getting run around like that, and you think he feels good about himself? Then he just so according to what's his name, Myles Garrett busts his ass beating him in a pass rushing drill, and he thinks Jordan Mailata just went in and had a soda and a sandwich and didn't give 2 shits about it. You think that's true? Or do you think today Jordan Mailata wants a piece of Myles Garrett? I think Garrett's banged up a little bit. That's not how these practices work, my friends. That's not how that works. You're constantly with the eye in the sky watching you. Why would they tape it if they didn't care? Not going over what it takes to be a champion with people who don't understand that champions practice a lot and take it serious. Okay? Mailata's not getting soft. He's playing against a Hall of Fame player. Myles Garrett's going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's a Canton man. He'll be in Canton. Okay? He's a Canton guy. If that were me and I was Jordan Mailata, I'd want to line up against him every single practice I could possibly get. You know why? Because it's very few times that I'm going to be playing against somebody with that skill. And that guy is way better than the guy in Dallas. Sway goes, it's Myles Garrett. Relax. Jeez. Obviously, he didn't hear what I just said. If I get beat by him and I continue to get beat by a guy like that, he's preparing me for the season. Yeah, it's okay. Okay? Don't worry about it. It's only practice. You don't have to worry about it. Eagle fans, you guys are so confident. Nakobe's ready. Everybody's ready. You guys are, it's all good. Don't worry about it. You guys will be 17-0. Don't worry about it. You got it covered. Okay. Let's get into Jordan Davis here. How many people believe if Jordan Davis is not the starter this year at the 13th pick in the draft, that he, by the end of the year, if he is not the majority of the game starter, that he has been, I don't want to use the word bust, but that they overestimated who he is, and they did not evaluate him correctly. If he doesn't start this year, by the way, I can't wait to hear this one. If he doesn't start the majority of the games, he could get nicked up. Some other guys could start. Okay. If he doesn't start the majority of the games, would he be a disappointment to you? I'm with you, Sills. Overvalued. They need Dean to work on covering Chubb. That's exactly 5573. That'd be a phenomenal thing for Dean to do. It was the 13th pick. I know. Okay. I wrote down some of the numbers of first-year defensive tackles that you guys have drafted over the years. And let me start here. Let's start with Jerome. Jerome played 12 games in 87 because of the strike. Jerome had 50 tackles in 12 games. 50. Don't let them agitate you, Sills. Remember, they're delusional. That's a learning experience for Jordan. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a good one. Jerome Brown didn't start a lot of the games. Had 50 tackles, 40 solo, 4 sacks in 12 games. Let's go to Corey Simon. These are rookie seasons for players you drafted in the first round at defensive tackle. Corey Simon, 52 tackles, 38 solo, 9.5 sacks in his rookie year. Let me say that again. Corey Simon, 52 tackles, 38 solo. 38 solo. 9.5 quarterback sacks out of Florida State. Fletcher Cox, 39 tackles, 32 solo, 5.5. Louisville says, I've been saying Milton Williams will get more starts. Jordan Davis in 13 games. 18 tackles, 8 solo, no sacks. What's different there from Jordan to those other guys? Those other guys are active. He's not. Jerome didn't start, had a strike. Corey had almost 10 sacks his rookie year. Still hall pass here when you're the 13th pick. There's no There's no hall pass. End of the day here. Here's who he is and will always be. He'll be a Vita Veda, a Wolfwork. He'll help the other players. They overdrafted him. It's okay. He's a good player. You don't cut him. He's not Derek Barnett, who's a complete meathead. This guy's a player. He's good. He'll be effective in your run game. Vince Wilfork wasn't a 3-down lineman. He was a 2-down lineman. He's going to be considered for the Hall of Fame. Okay? They're going to consider him for the Hall of Fame. I don't give a shit what shape. He's not a productive player. It doesn't matter what kind of shape he is. By the way, to tell you why that doesn't matter, and to give you a little bit of solace in the fact that Jordan Davis was out of shape, Mazi Smith is severely out of shape with the Cowboys. That guy, there's not a chance in hell he could play 35 plays in a game. There's not a chance. That guy came to camp with the Cowboys so out of shape that he has 2 flash plays. So it's not just Jordan Davis. These kids that come out of these programs that have a lot of rotation, they're not physically prepared to play in the National Football League. And because of these stupid-ass OTAs and that ridiculous CBA, the majority of these rookie defensive tackles that are coming into camp are not ready to play. It's a league-wide issue. It's not a Jordan Davis issue. It's a league. I watched more tape on Mazi Smith. He's strong. He doesn't have a very good get-off right now because he's out of shape. To me, he looked like Jordan Davis a year ago. And this guy went to Michigan. These guys are not ready to play today. That's why that guy, Aiden Hutchinson, who's an effort player, you know why he was ready to play? His dad played. His dad told him, you got to be in shape, man. Dude, you got to be in superstar condition to play in that league. Okay? Hey, Seals, how long an average does it take to develop a defensive tackle in the NFL? I don't think very long. I don't think very long. I think it takes forever to develop a great O-lineman. The great O-linemen, you notice, they're all in their mid-30s. Look at all the great O-linemen. Very rarely do you have guys early on. Those are the Hall of Famers that are dominant early in their careers, like Will Shields, Mike Munchak, guys like that. Zach Martin. Very rarely do you see a 26, 27-year-old kid who's the best OG or OT in the league, because the technique is so much more complicated and more complex. A defensive guy, wind him up and watch him run into walls. You usually see him right away. Like for me, watch this. I only need to see about 10 feet of film on Jalen Carter to tell you that this kid's got every tool. Now it's just going to be about being in shape and recognizing formations, techniques, and splits. He's got to do the nuances of the game, which means a chalkboard of the game. That's all he has to do. He has to be a student of the game now because he has all the intangibles. So he just has to continue he has to play. Continue to get your reps, okay? And again, I'm not talking about repping him out 20 reps, 25, 30 reps against Cleveland. I'm not talking that. Then again, Cleveland has some pretty good O-linemen, and it's probably the third best or second best O-line next to Baltimore and Detroit. Those are your best O-lines. Your best O-lines are Philly, Baltimore, Detroit, Cleveland. Those are great O-lines. Dallas kind of coming up the rear a little bit. There are some players on that O-line. Pretty good offensive line. Okay? Dolphins are getting better. So to me, I think it takes 2 years for a D lineman, and you start to see it. Because most of the guys, when you have a great D tackle, you see Adama Sue with 10 tackles in his rookie year. And you see it. Fletcher Cox, he didn't play a bunch of the snaps his rookie year. He still had 5.5 sacks. Fletcher's an athlete. Fletcher is an athlete. He's a 3 technique, 1 technique, 0 technique. See, the hidden gem with him, you could play him at end, tackle, nose. You can't do that with everybody. You see what they're trying to do with Jordan Davis? They're trying to get him in space to see if he can use some of that speed. But you know what he does? He stops his feet. I've talked to Tracy about this numerous times. Move your feet, son. See, he thinks because he's so athletic and he's 350 pounds that he's going to manhandle guys. You're not doing that in the NFL. You're not. How can a guy like Dwight Freeney at 6 feet have 20 sacks in a season? Because he moves his feet. He gets around the edges, uses leverage. Fletcher's just not Davis is just not a very good, technically sound, skillful pass rusher. He's not. It's okay. You know, you can keep working him and keep working at it, and you should keep working at it. But what they should be focusing on is 0 technique, 1 technique. You see, what they're realizing now is they're trying to figure out a way to maximize that 13th pick. I think they're making a mistake. He'll never be able to play defensive end and set the edge. I would run the ball at him playing DE every play. You're not going to stop top flight running backs from getting outside on you or screen passes. I don't give a shit how good he is. He's not going to set the edge. He's an interior tackle. He's an interior inside DT. And again, this is not a rip, but they need to realize who he is. And what they're doing is they're fighting it a little bit. They're fighting it. Okay? Embrace it. He's not a bust. No one's saying that. But because they got enamored with the combine. Man, the combine, if the combine was the number one end all, I think it's the biggest joke on the planet. You know why the combine's the biggest joke on the planet? Almost every single drill you do at the combines, you will never do in your NFL career ever again. So you prepare for that thing. You're not running shuttle drills and practice. You're not even running 40s. You're not doing any of that. You're not doing vertical jumps. You do that one time in your career. You prepare for that. It's like going to a Gold's Gym. That's all it is. If I wanted guys that were great and muscle-bound guys and guys that were fast, I'd go to a gymnasium. I want to go to a film room and see production. We're going to get Dave Wannstedt on, the owner of 3 Super Bowl rings. He's the guy that recruited Aaron Donald. He'll tell you. Okay? Don goes like this. See, Don takes what I just said that I'm hoping that he fails. I am not in any way hoping he fails. I'm hoping to get through many of you out there who he is and who he's not. I said this on day one of the draft. He's about 23rd, somewhere down in there, 23, 25. He's going to be a 2-down guy, and he's going to be a guy that you're going to be happy you got because he's in the run game. Well, they moved up to 13. Severely overdrafted. Okay, it's okay. He'll be productive for you guys. He's going to help Jalen Carter a lot. And by the way, I'm not going to quantify my take here on Jordan Davis to make you feel better about yourselves. You need to understand who he is. Okay? All I'm saying, these other guys came on in their rookie years, and they were productive. I don't know about you, but Jerome played on a pretty good defense, don't you think? Gang Green? Corey was on a pretty good football team, wasn't he? Had 9.5 sacks his rookie year. Fletcher, 40 tackles, 5.5 sacks. I don't know. Jordan Davis, 18 tackles, 8 solo, nothing. He's not productive. These other guys are productive tackles. These guys are active with their hands. They know how to make plays. They're TFL monsters. These are elite dudes. Jordan's not an elite playmaker. Plain and simple. So, if you lower your expectations, you might be happier with him. The guy that you need to have the high expectations are on Jalen Carter, because he has the skill set to make plays. Okay? Skill set to make plays. Okay? So, yeah, and again, that guy Mozzie Smith, severely out of shape. Cowboys think they have a gold mine in that kid. He ain't playing more than 20 plays. Guy's fat and out of shape. Has not prepared himself. Okay? All right. You know, Bear, I hate to use that term. He's a plug because it makes him sound non-essential and non-essential personnel. When you go like this, he's a plug. That's not really. I mean, look, I'll tell you what I like about him. Maybe I should do that. What I like about him is usually a guy who's a plug is 6 feet, 6'1", 300 pounds, you know, but this guy is enormous and moves like a 6'1", 6'2" guy. I think it's in his hands. You know, Tracy and I were talking about it, and he goes like this: "Is it feet?" I go, "It's his feet." He stops him, and he's not very active with his hands. He's got to be more. When you watch Aaron Donald play, okay, and you watch Aaron Donald play, watch how active he is with his hands. He's slapping those hands off, getting them around you. He doesn't want you to touch him at all. He's playing angles. He's on a technique. He's on a 3. Aaron Donald never rushes you head up. Watch Jordan Davis, how he rushes. He gets right into the middle of the guy, which automatically means he's beat. See, fly goes rip and swim, okay? That's a technique where you're on the perimeter of the guard, on the shoulder, outside shoulder. He doesn't do that. He runs right into the middle of the blocker, and the blocker wins that as soon as he gets head up on a guard. He's blocked. He's blocked. You have 2 seconds to make that decision. And sometimes these good guards, they'll take a wide stance. Get out there wide. And you got to come back inside. You've got to have multiple moves. And I don't think he possesses that talent. I just don't think he possesses. Jalen Carter recognizes that. Got quick hands, long. I'll tell you something about Carter too that I didn't realize. Long ass arms. Like, I mean, this guy's built like he's Elton Brand. I mean, he's got long arms, plays on a perimeter, gets inside, pushes the guys around. Great lower base. I mean, everything you want in a tackle, 3 technique, you got it in that guy. But what the Eagles are doing right now, they're fooling themselves. They're fooling themselves by thinking, well, you know, maybe he'll be. Have you ever seen a defensive lineman that came out of college who wasn't productive in college turn out to be a Hall of Fame tackle? I'm trying to think. Randy White was exceptionally productive. Won the Outland Lombardi. I don't ever remember a guy who had like very limited tackles and didn't do anything and then went on to have 60, 70 tackles a year, 10, 15 sacks. Dominic Sue was a star at Nebraska. Jerome was a star at Miami. Corey Simon was a star at Florida State. Shit, Fletcher was a star at Ole Miss. These guys were star productive players. Very rarely do you see a guy with 9 sacks in 50 games almost and come in and go, well, he's going to be a 10-sack guy. You fell in love with the combines. That's the biggest. Hey, do you know what the NFL combines are today to me? They're absolutely fool's gold. It's just fool's gold. You watch a guy run these drills and you watch these guys do all these and you go like this. Wow, what an athlete. What's that got to do with playing football? Most of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the sport are like horrible athletes. I mean, look, who's a better athlete, Vic or Brady? Who's a better, right? Vic or Brady? Who would you take as an athlete? Man, that's a dumb question, right? Think about that. Think what I just said. Who is a better athlete? Michael Vick or Tom Brady? Vic. Well, who'd you want as a quarterback to win a game? Brady. It's two different people. Same thing in the NFL. Same thing in the NFL. I want a football player. Athlete? You're hoping. You're hoping. Okay? You're hoping. Chuck, I'd even say this. You think Peyton Manning was a great athlete? I wouldn't put Peyton Manning. Okay? All right. I want to get to the Browns. It's funny. I hear people posting, well, the Eagles lost to the Browns in practice. This is where I will agree with some of you guys. 1-loss records in practice? Okay. The only thing I don't ever want to hear is that the Browns had better effort than the Eagles. And that, I don't think that will ever happen. What did I see? Something about a ridiculous 6-2 in the postseason or preseason since they're, I mean, those are dumb. No one gives a shit about that. And I agree with people who say, dude, 6-2? Where did you get that? How did you come up with that metric? Where in the world did you come up with that metric that Sirianni's 6-2 in organized practices? How did you come up with that? What is that metric exactly? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Again, the only thing I don't want to hear is that the Browns had better effort and those guys didn't practice hard. That I don't want to hear. Because then you're like some of the guys in here that think practice is, it doesn't matter. It's funny, isn't it? They have an entire exhibition season. They have all these organized team practices. The NFL teams thinks it matters. But there's Eagle fans in here that go, who cares? That's the difference. Why you sit in the stands and those guys are on the field. Because they do take that shit serious. Okay? So that's the only thing. And Cleveland is good. There's a bunch of talented players out there. Okay? There's a bunch of talented players on Cleveland. Let's look at the Browns. 2023 Cleveland Browns. How many people think this football team is a postseason team? How many people think, in a very tight AFC, how many people think that this football team is a playoff team? Or how about this? They have a playoff roster. Okay? Do the Browns have a playoff roster? All Eagles, joint practice and joint practices means nothing when game one starts. It's when it matters. The effort you put into practice matters. They have a solid team. They can make it with that roster for sure. I think they're pretty close to being a roster like the 49er roster. I think the Browns have a good football team. I do. Here's my assessment. A little bit of last year and right now, okay? 7-10 a year ago in 2022, as we said. there was a built-in distraction immediately once the 200. There were actually two built-in distractions for the Browns last year. Okay. If the Browns were in the NFC, they would challenge for the number one seed. That's tone. Absolutely. I mean, it was two built-in distractions. One when you gave the $230 million guaranteed with an unprecedented contract, and then who you gave it to, and Deshaun Watson. Automatically, he was going to have to try to not drown. This guy was out in the middle of the ocean with no buoy or nothing, and he was treading water the entire time. So the whole season a year ago, it began in a disaster before it even started. So, I mean, there was really no chance for it to have any good outcome. What you were just doing was hoping to survive. Okay? You're just hoping to survive. Jim Schwartz is the new defensive coordinator. They brought a couple new coordinators in. Bubba Ventori, who is a really great special teams coach. I wish the Eagles had gotten him. Browns would be first in the NFC West. Maniac. I agree. I mean, Bubba Ventori being added to the special teams as a special teams coordinator, I think that's an upgrade. Jim Schwartz, now the new DC, means this. They're going to be aggressive, but they're going to be more guardrails. When you have a Jim Schwartz defensive system and a scheme, he's not going to let you freelance back there in the secondary. That's not what he does. He has a very controlled and a very structured system. You have to play in. There's not a lot of leeway. Like, there's no roaming around in a Jim Schwartz defense. Everybody's got their job. He demands everybody to be in their place. He demands everybody to have technique. And one of the most important things that he does is that he makes sure everyone knows everyone else's responsibility, because knowing everybody else's responsibility gives you an advantage on setting the edge and making sure that you're not out of position. The more you know about what the scheme is and what everybody's job out there is, the better of a captain you could be of your own ship. There's a reason that there's a captain. He knows everyone else's job. Well, what they're looking to do is they're looking to get players out there that know everybody's responsibility. Okay? And that's what Schwartz is looking for. Now that they have a quarterback, they've been searching for a quarterback. Yeah, I agree. And let me get into this now. And again, like I said, the 2022 season for the Browns was set up for disaster immediately. It was just set up for a disaster. This is the team that they'll be playing on Thursday, the Eagles. Let me tell you this about Kevin Stefanski. I think he struggled. Well, if you go back and you watch him and how he built that offense, especially when Watson came back, they had trouble spreading it out. They had problems moving the ball around. He struggled as a coordinator, I thought, a year ago, and getting that offense in sequence. Because you know what he is? What he doesn't understand, in my opinion, is that they're a run-first team. When you got a guy like Nick Chubb back there running the ball, you need to set that up on play action and make sure that your offense is in third and short by winning first and second down. I thought they did a poor job at trying to win first and second down. They had the talent. You know, Watson comes back after week 13. It wobbled around for a little bit. But you know what was, at the end of the day, what was a positive for the Browns? They ended up 3-3 in the AFC. So they were riding the ship. Okay? They were riding the ship as the season went. If they had more time, they would have continued to get better and better and better. And Watson was getting better and better and better. So, okay. Jim Schwartz, as I said, is the new coordinator. You're going to have more ability to be able to be aggressive. They added that DT, Dalvin Tomlinson. I got to tell you something, man. Andrew Berry, the general manager that was in Philadelphia, has done a whale of a job. I think Cleveland is a really good football team. They just got to go out and do it. They're kind of like the Lions. They're good, dude. That's a good team. And so when you hear during these practices that some of the Eagle guys are getting beat and some of the Cleveland Brown guys are getting beat, this is a pretty good matchup. This should be a good football game. If the Browns and the Eagles were to play a regular season game, what would the point spread be? In Philly? Three? In Cleveland? 1.5? Cleveland would be an underdog? Okay? That's how good they are. Like, that Browns team could beat the Chiefs. They can beat the Chiefs. They got all the components to beat them. Look at Steve, 14. No, that's how many sacks Mailata gave up. Hoss, you couldn't beat the Redskins. How does Watson look throwing the ball? Pretty good, Yale. Yeah, a lot comfortable. Yeah, I thought a year ago that Stefanski struggled a bit. I did. I thought he struggled a bit in spreading it around a little. I thought he really did not get that team out and good perimeter. Now, Amari Cooper ended up with 1,000 yards receiving. So their skill set at the perimeter. But they need to run that ball more. Okay? They need to run it. And like you said, if the Browns were in the NFC, they'd win home field advantage. They'd win 14 games. Not a problem with that. Not a problem. They're a good football. I mean, look, they have maybe the best defensive edge rusher in the league. They got maybe the best offensive guard in the National Football League. They got maybe the best running back in the NFL next to the guy in Tennessee. They got a quarterback who was out a bit. Still down the stretch, went 3-3. Is the paper bag on the head era over with the Browns? Barring any kind of injuries, I think the Browns are going to be a contender for the AFC. Yes. Devin goes, would I pick them over the Eagles in a game? No. I said that I would say they'd be 3-point underdogs, the Browns, in Lincoln Financial, and I think the Browns would be 1.5 underdogs at home. Okay? I think they'd be – you still have to prove to me you can win games like that against a team like Philly. See, the Browns have talent, but that doesn't necessarily mean I believe you can beat other teams with talent. Like, that's what I say about the Eagles. You beat all the shitty teams that you beat in front of you, but when you line up against good quarterbacks, you don't win. That's been a trend for 2 years with you. I could put down on a list 10 quarterbacks that are considered some of the top quarterbacks, and you have a losing record versus them. And the 2 years that Sirianni's been there, I could put down a list that you were beaten them by. Okay? Browns have to beat Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Well, let's see what Cincinnati looks like, especially in the secondary and especially at the safety position. I'll get to Dalvin Cook being with the Jets. That pushes them up the ladder a little bit. I mean, he's 1,100-yard back and only 220 carries. There's not a lot of tread on his tire, man. Okay? Not a lot of tread. He doesn't carry the ball like the guy in Tennessee The guy in Tennessee carries the ball 375 times a year. That guy in Minnesota carried it like 210, 220 as an average for his years up there. Wasn't a ton of carries. Okay. A list of last three. No, I said Sirianni's last 2 years. That first year, you didn't beat one quarterback worth of shit. Second year, the second year you beat Rodgers and you beat, I'll say Trevor. Then who else? Who else? In 2 years, you've beaten Trevor and Aaron, and the rest of them have beaten you. So which teams have the quarterback we need to beat? Well, we're going to see those this year, KC, because you're going to have a stretch of them. Allen, Mahomes, Dak. Can't beat Dak. You got to beat him first, too. How is that the Eagles' fault? It's not a fault. It's a fact. Okay? You think Brock Purdy's elite? Oh, based off what? And look at Quan. Quan keeps laughing at Dak. We'll beat him then. Then you can laugh. Beat him. You can laugh then, Quan. Beat him. And I'll agree with you. Till that point comes, you're lying to people and yourself. Beat him. You go 2-0 against the Cowboys this year. Great shot. You make it back to the Super Bowl. Okay? They were usually up big in the second half. No need to throw the ball. I don't know what that means. Dak is a bum. His own teammates know it. That bum beats you. You know what's funny? A guy like Quan or other people who don't like Dak, you guys can make all that shit up. I'll just go 8-3. 5 TDs a year ago. 400 yards in the air against your second-ranked defense. Jalen doesn't play defense. You can say whatever you want. Dak schools you until you stop him. Jeffy goes, Chiefs? When have you beaten the Chiefs? We're 2-0 against you. And in your own barn. Dak's a bum who loses to bums. Make it make sense. Easy. 8-3 owns you. And if they get into a title game against you, you think you have better odds of beating the Cowboys when you haven't? That's why I said if the Cowboys get to the NFC Championship game, I don't care if it's at Lincoln Financial or in Arlington, they'll beat you. Until you prove otherwise. This is not about fortune telling. This is about looking at what people have accomplished, who they are, what they've done, where they're going. You could sit here on today's date and make shit up all you want. I'm just going to spew facts. I didn't tell you the Cowboys win critical games, but the Cowboys beat you. And if they get you in a critical game, they'll beat you because they do beat you. Now, could the Cowboys lose in the divisional round? Totally. They get you in a playoff game, they'll beat you until proven otherwise. I make shit up all day long. You see that what he says? What did I say was a lie? Do the Eagles lose to the Cowboys when Dak is quarterbacking? Yes or no? Yes or no? Does he usually have a career game against you? Yes or no? That's not making anything up. Look at the numbers. I'm so bored with pulling the numbers up, I'm not. Like I've told you before about your team, you're built for the long haul. The Cowboys are built to beat the Eagles. And until you beat that team, look at what, hey, Micah goes, I'm cherry picking. No. Since Dick Vermeil has said this when he first took over the Philadelphia Eagles, Philly has to beat Dallas. They have to beat Dallas. That has not changed. That has not changed. Dalvin Cook, I want to hit on that. Also, your coordinators. I want to hit on that. I think it's important because I heard something today from a very experienced coach that I totally want to hit on, and it's important here. Guys, we are so looking forward to being part of our great friends. By the way, the two owners of the Hooters and King of Prussia text me today, and I think we're going to get one of them on this week, and we're looking forward to it. The official home of the National Football League is King of Prussia. However, with all the 7 locations, this is the 40th anniversary of Hooters, and we are so proud to be involved with Hooters almost the entire time. Make sure you go to northeasthooters.com to find one of the 7 locations nearest you for you to be able to have yourself one whale of a time. Now, look, if you're getting your draft party together and your drafts together for your fantasy league, this is your one-stop place. Reserve a chair, reserve a table, because they are going fast. And with all the football we got coming up now, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, this is your one-stop place with all the great action for football and the official home of all Eagle fans. The iconic Hooter girls are there for you. They're going to serve you there Tuesdays. One of the great things that we have on Tuesdays, buy 10 wings and you get 10 boneless wings free. Wings Wednesday. How about this? All you can eat. It's a 40-year tradition, 1983. You'll absolutely love that. How about this? Fried pickles. 6 items, $6. Simple as that. We got a list of appearances that we're going to be doing at King of Prussia. Make sure you take a look at it over at Dan Sileo Show on my Twitter page. Please go over and take a look at it. And for the 7 locations, northeasthooters.com. Find that location nearest you. When you go into any one of the Hooters, do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES. Eagles.
I'll tell you something. Who's come to practice, from what I'm hearing with the Eagles, is Josh Sweat. He's continuing to get better and better and better and better and better and better and better every time he steps on a football field. He's getting better, having a really good controlled scrimmage against the Browns. So he is really, really just, I mean, I am so high on him. And what a good-looking football player he's turning out to be. I mean, we're going to look at some of the week 2 games here in a second here too, but I'm going to get to the coordinators in a second. But Josh Sweat is really, I mean, hands, feet, setting the edge. Got 3 moves off of 1. Has a great inside spin move. I mean, his hands, the way he's getting around guys. I mean, the Browns are having a problem with him. And his so long arms, the more and more he plays, the more and more. Who is that one guy? Can I tell you? Hey, Tone, I don't know if you guys remember this guy, but man, he's starting to remind me of a very young Javon Curse. You know, he's starting to remind me of Javon Curse. Something like that. I mean, Jason Pierre-Paul was a little bigger. Okay. He was about 285, 290. Okay. This guy's more like Brian Burns. But when I look at Josh Sweat, it's like Javon Curse, the kid out of Florida. I mean, great body lean, long arms, just athletic, great leverage. Maniac, right? You see that? When I'm watching him on film, I'm going back and forth with the clicker and I'm watching him and I'm like, man, I see Javon Curse here. And I thought Javon Curse was a hell of a ball player. And he's just kind of right there with that. I mean, he's being coached well. I mean, and he's developing. From where he was when I first started covering the Eagles, I thought he was a first and second down guy. But you started seeing him come along. I mean, first quarter of last year, you were like this. He was making wild plays. And you know what he does so well? On setting that edge, he never lets anybody get to his outside shoulder, turns everything back into pursuit. And he's good. He's good. And for a guy not being a first-round draft choice, again, here's a guy that was underdrafted. He's a first-round talent. He's not quite Brian Burns, but he's an underdrafted star. And that's a good thing. You got a bunch of them on that team. Look, the first round is the most impossible round to get right. We all know this. Okay? Most of the time, and hey, get this, if you're not drafted in the first round and you turn out to be a starter, you're automatically underdrafted, right? Right? So anybody not drafted in the first round turns out to be a starter, you're underdrafted. And when you're Jason Kelce, you're a Hall of Famer. Jordan Mailata. They got a whole Landon Dickerson, second round. That guy's a first-round talent. He's a first-round talent. Anybody who didn't go, like Jalen Hurts. How many people think Jalen Hurts is underdrafted now? How many people think Jalen Hurts is underdrafted now? I do. You got a guy who just got $255 million. Lucius goes, I see more Jason Taylor. Taylor's about 245. He's kind of in there. Personally, I don't think that much of Jason Taylor, but okay. I like Hurts better. I don't know. I think Taylor's a good ball player. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. Dave Wonstadt will join us at 4:30. We're going to get the parameters of what he looks for a defensive tackle. Okay? Let's make a point here about how many people are concerned about the new coordinators. And I put it out vague like that for a reason. What's your biggest, maybe I should say it this way, what's your biggest concern with the new coordinators? I heard something today that should go and hopefully resonate with you. What's your biggest concern with the new coordinators? Experience, the unknown. Experience, unknown. Those aren't wrong answers. Couple more. In-game experience, adjustments. Defense will take time to gel. More concerned with defense on the coordinating side. Square peg and round hole. I thought the play designs were there on offense, but defense, I don't know. Situational play calling. I think tone's there. Let me tell you something that I heard today from Sean McDermott and what they're struggling with right now in Bills camp and what's going on with the Bills right now. They got a problem with communications right now. Okay? They got a problem with communications. And he said today that it's taking a little bit more time in our communicating our defenses with one another and going back and forth. Okay? Going back and forth. You know, I mean, and just communicating. This is why I told you what I saw with your defensive backs in that first game against the Ravens, and I saw those guys back there doing this. Move up, slide up, come here, slide over more. And the talking that they were doing back there, great. Great. That was the most encouraging thing from that Eagles game, was watching those DBs looking at one another in game, in play, going like this, and heads on a swivel, and them talking. That, to me, Sean McDermott said it today, they're having issues on communicating. So, like, when Sean Desai sends a defense in, okay, and you got guys out there that are echoing it. You know what an echo is? Slay will say something. He sees something. He'll echo it across the line. The free safety, strong safety will echo it down to the mic. The mic will echo it down to the front four. And it's communicating all over the unit. And they're having issues in Buffalo with that. And this is an experienced group with an experienced defensive coordinator in Sean McDermott. And they're struggling with that. So you come away with that Ravens game and you're watching guys communicating. Now, here's the problem. Who's playing your mic? You don't have all the pieces on the field yet. How is that going to look in your mic? Echoing it down to your front four. That's my concern is communication. I'm not even talking. Hey, do you notice the one thing that I'm doing when it comes to your young talent? I don't even bring up your young talent. I don't even bring up your young talent. I'm just trying to help you identify who Jordan Davis is. And at the other end, I'm trying to tell you that this is about communication, knowing what to do, knowing where to line up. I can't tell you how essential that is. Don't tell me how good your players are. Everybody in the NFL is good. Do you fundamentally understand what's being asked of you? Do you know your alignments? That's the only thing that matters right now, is having everybody on the same page. And McDermott is talking about the problems they're having in Buffalo. And you got a new coordinator with new pieces. Don't tell me that's easy. Every team struggles with that. Okay? Every team struggles with that. With communication, especially with new faces. I mean, I'll say it one more time, and I said it to Tone and to D. Gunn earlier. Sean Desai is not the first choice coordinator. You didn't have the pick of the litter. You got the runt of the litter in so many ways. This is not what you wanted. Sean Desai. Now, get this. Dave Wannstedt's going to come on with us soon. Dave works for the Chicago Bears. And Dave works with the Bears, which means he was there when Desai was there. And we're going to get a sense on who Sean Desai is. Dave knows him very well. And so the reason we got Coach Wannstedt on, twofold, D tackles and Sean Desai. Okay? Okay? It's one thing for sure. Howie hiring of Desai, it's not who he wanted. Always remember, Howie Roseman hires the coordinators, the coaches, and picks the players. Nobody gets in the way. They give input, but nobody gets into that decision-making. We all know this. Jalen Carter was picked by Howie Roseman, not by Nick Sirianni. The coordinators were picked by the coach, by not the coach. The coach is just a dude who is now becoming part of a process and building up great equity. And like I said earlier, I think Nick's influence and input is becoming more valued. Whereas when Doug was there, it became more adversarial. Okay? Became more adversarial. And that's why he got fired. Doug Peterson did get fired because of the last year he had in Philly. He got fired because he couldn't get along with Howie and work with Howie anymore. That's why he was fired. And the owner chose Howie. Howie Roseman. I mean, you don't fire a coach who won a Super Bowl. And then again, you don't fire another Hall of Fame coach. You fired 2 Hall of Fame coaches because they couldn't work with the front office at the end. And one guy kind of ran out of gas anyway. Hey, Bill Walsh used to say it all the time. Most coaches shouldn't stay past 10 years because you wear your welcome out after a while. Bill said the same thing. Jimmy believed the same thing. Man, the more you stay there, the more they're looking to get you out of the building because you want to start doing shit your way. And that's what Doug wanted. Doug wanted to start and you don't blame Doug. Doug's success he had, he's the most successful NFL coach Philadelphia has ever had. Because at the end of the day, he did the most uncommon thing any other coaches never did. And that was win a Super Bowl. Okay? So this is Howie's ship. Howie runs the entire thing. And it's by design. The owner set it up this way. Howie picks the players, does the books, handles the money, handles the coaching staff, handles the game day roster. That's how it's always going to be. Why will Sirianni get fired if they don't win a Super Bowl soon? It's inevitable. Of course it is. If you'll fire Doug Peterson and Andy Reid, who's Nick Sirianni? Look, I'm not saying I don't like him. That's not the point here. At the end of the day, whether or not the Eagles win a Super Bowl or not has nothing to do with Nick Sirianni. It has everything to do with what Tone said earlier with the pressures. You think Howie Roseman's going to fire himself if they don't win a Super Bowl? They're going to fire the coach. Howie's not firing himself. And nor would the owner want him fired. That's why guys like Andy Reid and Sirianni are expendable. They're expendable because they don't run the ship. And anybody in Philly, especially in the media, who thinks Nick, now look, I'll say this. I think Nick, because Nick knows how to handle everything, I think he's getting more input. Here, and it's exactly what Tone said, because Tone knows how I look at this. This is how Howie does things to make the coach feel empowered. He'll put down 25 guys on a sheet, and he'll go like this. Which one of these 3 guys you like? Whether it's a player or a position coach. It's kind of setting the deck. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? Nick gets to pick off of Howie's list. Which one of these position coaches do you like? I like the 4th one. Yeah, there's 2. Let's get him in here and interview him. Which one of these players do you like here for the 30th pick? Goes to his personnel people, looks at it. Nick likes this guy. What do you guys think? Should we trade out or should we take this player? They set the deck. Nothing wrong with that because it empowers the coach still. You look at it and you go like this. You go, which one of the guys does he like? Who do you want to be your wide receiver coach? There's a list of about 10 guys. And because Nick was a wide receiver coach, probably asked him, which guy do you like here? I like this guy, man. I worked with him before in Indianapolis, and I worked with him before with the Chargers. He already knows that. And as Nick gets more into his NFL career, the more assistant coaches he'll know. Remember, here's his network. His network is Doug Peterson. His network is Frank Reich. His network is the Chargers. His network is Mike McCoy. There's a network of guys around that, and it all starts with Frank and Doug. Frank, Doug, maybe Jim Schwartz in there. All of those. There's no coincidence that Jim Schwartz is the defensive coordinator in Cleveland because he had worked with Andrew Berry in Philadelphia, who Berry worked with Howie and worked in that organization for the owner. That's how this works. That's how this goes in a circle. You don't hire out of that circle. That's why some people go, why do they keep hiring the same people? Because they're in a comfort zone with them. Okay? That's, again, he's going to hire people within that, in that room, like the Indianapolis coaching staff that he was with Frank in Indy when he was the OC there. That's where you're going to get the majority of the future coaches coming for. Do you think there's any coincidence that Carson Wentz was dealt to Frank and that Sirianni came over from Indy? From Frank? You think there's any, get this, you even did a trade on networking. Think about that, Yale. You sent your quarterback who had $38 million left to Indy. And in exchange, you got a coach. That's networking. Okay? That's networking. And one more time, those people who were in Philly thinking that Lincoln Riley was going to be the head football coach of the Eagles, there's no connection anywhere. Anywhere. I mean, Howie didn't even have one with the Gators with him. There was zero connection. And Riley had a 10-year, $10 million note on him if he coached one more year in Norman. He was going to get a $10 million stroke by the university. He made in his final year coaching the Sooners $17 million. You think the Eagles were going to pay him $17 million to be an NFL head coach, never having been before? Never happened. Never happened. Bear goes like this. Jalen will help Johnson. I think Johnson, if you look at his pedigree, Johnson has helped a lot of quarterbacks. He developed Dak. And hey, you could say whatever you want about Dak. Dak makes $50 million. Brian Johnson had a lot to do with that. he wasn't a highly recruited kid going to Mississippi State. It was Brian Johnson who brought him to Mississippi State for Dan Mullen. He was just a nothing burger at these camps. The Bulldogs had these high school camps, and he was the last invite. And Dan Mullen saw him and went like this with Dak. I don't know. I don't know. Brian Johnson's the one that convinced him to give him a scholarship. Got to give this kid a scholarship. He gets there his freshman year. He's down on the depth chart, so deep he needs a snorkel. All of a sudden, from year 1 to 2, Dan Mullen goes, who is that guy? And he goes, that's Dak. There was a time when Dak had Mississippi State the number 1 team in the country. And you started seeing the progress. And you were like, holy shit. He was his coordinator sophomore year. I think sophomore or junior year at Mississippi State in Oxford. Or that's Ole Miss, excuse me. I mean, I don't think Brian was in Florida for Kyle Trask. I don't think he was there when Mullen. He may have been when Kyle Trask was there. Because don't you see don't you see how he develops? You know what, Yale? Yeah, was Brian Johnson at Florida when Kyle Trask was there? Was he? Let's see here. Hey, Tone, I got to give you a hold on here. We're doing on-site promoting here or producing here. I want to know who Sean Desai is. And this is why I think it's important to get Dave on, because he'll tell us, because he was in Chicago. With Sean Desai. So cool. I don't know. Yeah, was he there with Kyle Trask? Was he there? Because Kyle Trask is almost the same kind of story. There for Trask, best year. Hey, Sharon, think about this. Kyle Trask never got a college scholarship from anybody else but the Gators. Okay? Never got another scholarship. And it was Brian Johnson. Okay? It was Brian Johnson who said, got to sign this guy. And now he's battling it out for the quarterback job with Baker Mayfield in Tampa. So Brian Johnson's got some pedigree of developing people. He can develop. And what I like about him, from all the things Dan Mullen says, he sits back and allows you. And what he does, he doesn't go in and overcoach you. That is such a key component, man, on getting it, okay? It's such a key component on being a good coach, is just not overcoaching. So it's important. And I like him. Now, I want to talk to Coach Wannstedt about Sean Desai and what kind of coordinator he is. Is he beating out Baker in Tampa? I don't know if he's doing that. Okay. But let me tell you something about my friend. And he's got a couple minutes with us. He's been working with the Bears. And I'll say this to you about Coach Wannstedt. Boy, I'll tell you something, man. The more and more I get removed from him, Butch, and Jimmy, these guys are the greatest talent evaluators I've ever seen. I mean, from Dave to Revis to Donald to even Butch in Tampa. I mean, Butch in North Carolina with all those. Butch turned North Carolina football around. All those guys they brought down to the Hurricanes, even when they were at Oklahoma State. I mean, they were turning Oklahoma State around. Best talent evaluators I've ever seen. And the new coordinator in Philadelphia is Sean Desai, who was in Chicago for a little bit. And let's go to our friend who works with the Bears and my former coach, Coach Wannstedt. He joins us now. Coach, I appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much. How them Bears looking?
Anytime, Danny. Absolutely. You know what? I've been up there, several times, and I like what they're doing. And I'll tell you a couple of things what's happening. One is they are a young football team. When they got into free agency with Ryan Poles, I don't think they signed anybody that was older than 29 years old. So they kept the age parameter to be young. They had a good draft last year, a good draft this year, and they've created a very competitive football team. And I think we saw that in the first preseason game. There's, everybody talks about, oh, you got to earn your spot every year. Well, it's kind of that way with the Bears. I mean, they started ground zero. They got rid of the Akeem Hickses and the Khalil Macks and Danny Trevathans, and they completely turned the thing over, went youth draft, and then free agency were young guys. And there's no guys. It reminds me a little bit of the old college practices we used to have at the U. I mean, there's nobody sitting on helmets. This is not your old NFL camp. Guys take a drill, sit on a helmet, BS. No, these guys are running drill to drill. The coaches are hustling drill to drill. And I think they're going to be a little bit better than what people think. I don't know. 7 wins. I could see them win 7, 8 games. The first game, the opener against Green Bay, is going to be critical, I think, just from a confidence standpoint for both teams, really. But I like where they're at right now. I truly do.
How about this too, Coach, especially in the NFC where it's not the power conference that the AFC is with all those good teams. You never know with the war of attrition there. But, one last thing on the Bears. This all comes down to Justin Fields. I watched him, Coach. I mean, there were mixed reviews. I mean, a lot of checkdowns, a lot of dump downs. Are they trying to do things to develop him that Shane Steichen did when he was the coordinator in Philly with Jalen Hurts and putting a lot of those RPOs in to try to install that kind of offense? Or do they want to have him more of a drop back guy? Talk about his development a little bit here.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to be, quote, a drop back offensive attacking. I think it's going to be a lot like Philly, Danny. Philly added, the big receiver. The Bears added DJ Moore, in a trade. So they've got a big-time receiver now. The difference between the two teams, my 2 points here, is Philly's defense, as we know, their team that, led the NFL in sacks, and they came up with turnovers. That, a great defense, we both know this, we lived it. That really helps an offense. And it helps a quarterback field position. You're not taking the negative plays. You're flipping the field. You're coming up with turnovers, momentum of the game. Where the Bears last year were one of the worst defenses in the league. I mean, their leading sacker was their strong safety, Brisker, a rookie from Penn State. So the Bears' defense didn't help their offense. Now, in the first preseason game, everybody was talking here in Chicago. They threw high percentage passes. And I said to them, if you're the head coach of the Bears, and I know what I would do, I would turn to my offensive coordinator and I would say, listen, I do not want to get Justin Fields hit in the mouth on the first play. I don't want to give up a sack I want a positive play. DJ Moore is our best damn receiver. Throw the ball to him, okay? And if he makes 5 yards, it'll be a positive play. And they throw him a little hit screen. He goes 62 yards for a touchdown. I'm sure that wasn't the plan, but the point was that by having a positive play or two early, it gives confidence to the offensive line. It gives confidence to the quarterback. The fans said, you know what, we're making some progress. So I think the Bears went about it the right way. I really do. Absolutely.
Coach, tell me who Sean Desai is, the new coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, he had some limited experience as a DC up in Chicago a couple of years back with Matt Nagy, and I think he was there with Vic Fangio, if I'm not mistaken. Who is this? Who is he? And tell me, just give me your overall assessment of him.
Well, I think the last name reference you used is what would be used to describe Sean. Vic Fangio. He was with Vic out of Denver when Vic came to Chicago. He brought Sean with him, and I think that's the mentality that he has, which is a very sound package. We know that. To me, all these, all these coordinators, I always put them in two categories. Are they playbook coordinators or are they outside the box thinkers? And you can get a coordinator and give them Vic Fangio's playbook, or you can give them our playbook that we had at Dallas. And this guy could study our playbook in and out. And he'd say, I got this playbook done as good as you do. Great. Okay, now the second play of the game, they're running a play that we haven't worked on. They're running a counter a week. We thought counter strong, whatever it might be. Now, what are we going to tell the defensive lineman? And what are we going to tell the lineman? How are we going to adjust within our package? So I think there's two different categories of coordinators. I know that he knows the defense, but I think the telltale will be as they get into the season and you got to make adjustments at halftime and you got to make adjustments week to week and during the game. To me, that kind of separates guys a little bit.
Coach, when I look at today's defense compared to you, when you believed in your front four guys getting home and that allowed you to play a little bit more back in the secondary, and you could gamble a little bit more or not, depending on what you wanted to do and the personnel you were playing. Today, Coach, is it me? Keep everything underneath. Most of the personnel that we're playing against, especially for a good team, they're not going to be able to go 14 plays on us. Am I right, Coach? It's more like don't give up the plus 25, keep everything underneath. And they're not really – you don't have to be a superstar dominating defense any longer, and you're not going to be because of the salary cap. Am I right when I'm seeing that, Coach? Or, again, you still have to have that dominant defense to win a Super Bowl.
And you know this because you've heard me say it. I mean, I've always believed that anytime the quarterback drops back, if he's not fearful in the back of his mind that he's going to get hit in the mouth, then I never thought you could play real great defense. And now with the rule changes and in protecting the quarterback, I think the ball's coming out so quick now, Dan, so quick that, these coverages and they're huddling at the line and the ball's coming out. It's hurry, hurry, hurry. You don't have a whole lot of time to get lined up and press guys and get into your banjo rules and all the stuff that we used to do. So I think, there is a lot of them that are just lining up and kind of keeping it in front of them and create some pressure and hope that your coverage guys are better than their receivers.
Coach, when I look at the defensive tackles that the Eagles have the last 2 years, and I see a guy like Jordan Davis versus Jalen Carter, I see Jerome Brown and Jalen Carter because of the foot movement, the hands, and all this, and I see the production. I keep trying to tell Philly people, Vince Wilfork was a first and second down defensive tackle. He's not a 3-down D tackle. They're going to pull him off the field on third down. He's the 13th pick. Now, don't over-assume he's going to be a productive guy. And, Coach, the one thing I learned from you and Jimmy and Butch, you love defensive tackles that were productive and had production. You did not like guys who ran 4.78s, had no production, and didn't do anything. You had to produce. Jimmy used to always tell me this, I like guys around the ball. I like guys that are always going to be around the ball making plays. So my point is with Jordan Davis, I think the people in Philly are overestimating. He had 9 sacks in 43 games. He's not going to be anything more than what he is. I mean, Vince Wilfork's a great player, Coach. He's going to be considered for the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's because you're not – Villa Veda in Tampa is a good football player. But, I mean, for you to assume he's going to be all of a sudden a 10-sack guy when he never was, I think it's crazy. How did you look at recruiting tackles like Aaron Donald?
Yeah, I think that a lot has to do with how you play those guys. And if the Bears, the Bears are kind of a combination of what we did at Dallas and Miami and what Tony Dungy did at Tampa, which is really the same thing. I mean, you did the exact same thing Warren Sapp did. I mean, they turn you loose. And the Bears are trying to get to that. But I think there's a lot of 4-3 schemes. Just because you're a 4-3 team does not mean that you're not. Some people line up in a 4-3 and they're grabbing those tackles and squeezing them and not letting them off. And, so it's a philosophy on what you want to do with your defensive linemen. And, I'm
Coach,
not
you
sure.
You believed in TFLs and penetration and getting up in the three and knocking things off. You didn't believe in the two-gap philosophy because you thought that ended up moving them back into the linebackers and the scrape lanes were off.
Yeah, and we thought we could play with a little bit smaller player too. if we were turning them loose. If we wanted to line, Aaron Donald up, head up you line him head up on one of these 350-pound guards, it's going to be a tough day on him. But you put him on that inside or outside shoulder, and it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
So I think that has a lot to do with it, and that was our philosophy with. You had good size, but you weren't 6'5". Jerome wasn't 6'5".
No, you used to come to the huddle all the time going, holy cow, I could eat a bowl of soup off you two guys' heads.
Well, I mean, really, and Donald was the same way.
Yeah.
And Russell Maryland was the same way. I mean, none of those guys were 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", but they all had quickness and they could all make plays. And you're giving up a little bit when you play that scheme. The defense, the guard, offensive linemen are going to get up on your linebackers, and your linebackers are going to get upset. And, there's a trade-off there. So it's a constant kind of give and take depending on the scheme that you're playing defensively.
Two last questions for you, Coach. When you're looking for a defensive tackle, what's the number one thing that when you were recruiting or when you were in the process of drafting someone, what did you want your D tackles to do and be like? I mean, is there a formula that you looked at?
Well, I think number one, we always talked about the first step. I never thought that we ever had a great one, or you could be a great one if you didn't have a good first step. By that, I mean, when the ball moves instinctively, you're moving. And the second thing was leverage. I mean, did you have to stand up right away, whether it was a run or a pass, to get into your technique, or could you play that by moving to the football? So those were things that we always talked about: leverage, first step. If the guy had those two things, and he was halfway crazy, then we liked him,
But hey, Butch did this. We were playing Florida State, and I'm killing everything off the line. My opinion, I was the fastest guy off the line with Stubbs and all them guys. And he stopped, and the drum looked over at me. He goes like this, and I go, I don't know, man. And Butch looked over, and he goes like this. That's exactly what we want here, because we used to do that gap crash.
Yep.
And we would come down with that gap crash, and Jerome and I would do that. That first step, Coach, and you could see it with Jalen Carter versus some other guys with like Aaron Donald. I mean, I said this like what you just said about Donald. You put Donald on a head up versus a 375-pound guy, that could be problems for him. You put him on a 3 technique on a shade, he's going to be a problem for you all day long. I mean, he surely is. Coach, thank you so much for doing this.
Anytime, Danny. You do a great job.
Thank you so much, my friend. That is my coach.
See you,
that
buddy.
is my coach. Dave wants that. Man, do I love that guy. Working with the Bears, too. I saw Justin Fields a little bit, too. I thought he improved a little bit. See, right there, did you hear him, Tone? The difference between Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter is in the first step. You don't need to look around and go. Now, to Tone's question earlier, how long does it take to develop? Some guys, it may drag on a little bit, like a Brandon Graham. But if you have that first step, you have so much to work with. Versus a guy, like when I watch like this Mozzie Smith, I don't think he has a good first step. I think he's slow. And I think some of that has to do with being in shape. He's just not in shape. Lazy Smith, Quan, that's what it kind of looks like to me. He'll have one gigantic play, and you go like this, wow, this guy's got some power. Well, I don't think anyone's not under the notion that he's not a strong kid. My question is, can he play 60 plays? And can he run up and down the line of scrimmage? And can I get some pass rushing out of you? The answer to me right now with Mozzie Smith in Dallas is no. Now, Jalen Carter, how many plays do you think? Hey, if I were me, how many plays do I think Jalen Carter could go? Say you're going to play 65 plays in a defensive sequence in a game, 4 quarters, 63 plays. I would not want to play him more than 45. somewhere in 45 in a rotation. 45, like that. I'd want him to have, if it were me, I'd want to have 45 plays for him. 45 plays for him. Shit, I'd want about 32 plays for Fletcher. I'd want Jordan at the one technique. I'd want him to play 40. And I'd want to have Milton Williams pick up the rest of it. Okay? So how many plays, we're talking about 17 plays. That's 34. Shit, 3-man rotation. You're covered right there. 45, 34 for Fletcher. And if Fletcher gets nicked up or anyone gets nicked up, you have Milton Williams picking up 10, 15 snaps. That's my rotation. That's how I would do it. Out of 62, 65 plays, I want to see, but see, I don't want to put Jordan at the 3 technique. He's not a 3. He's limited. So you got to keep him in there. And if anything happens to Jordan, that means Fletcher has to turn over and go over to the other side. And Fletcher's more of a 3 technique. Okay? I think he's more of a 3 technique. So, hey, first step. So from now on, when you guys are watching, don't tell me what kind of shape he's in. Now, that matters. That matters. Hey, Chuck, 25 plays, 25 to 28 plays for Fletcher. You're going to get 6 sacks from him. You're going to get a 6-sack year from him if you keep him between 25 and 28 plays. And if you get 45, you got to get 45 plays a game, I think, out of Jalen. Okay? You got to get 40 plays at least out of Jordan Davis. And folks, watch this. If you do this, 45 Jalen Carter, 44 Jordan Davis, 25 plays for Fletcher, and Milton picks it up, you're going to have a good group. That's going to be a good group. But you're going to look over at Jordan and go, he's got 3 sacks. He's got 22 tackles. That's not what I'm looking at. Did he make everybody else better around him? That's his value. That's a nose guard's value. A nose guard's value is like a point guard. Like if Jalen Carter has 9 sacks, it's going to be because Jordan Davis. And the guy behind him, your Schwimp, might actually get to 100 tackles. He might actually get to 100. We're going to look at the NFL at the top. By the way, I just got a text. Josh Sweat and Jalen Carter killed it today against the Browns. Great news. Great news. This kid, Jalen Carter, is going to be something else, man. Okay? Personally, I think he may finish the job that Jerome started. He's a good-looking football player, man. You watch that first step, dog, he is at you. He gets in your ass right away, man. Ba-bang. Gets some hands over, under. Gives you a one-hand power rush. Cross-hand chop, spin, twist. He does all that shit in there, man. He's well coached. He's a good-looking player. Okay? Really good-looking, man. Man, Josh Sweat is continuing to be an important player in that entire rotation. Hey, don't forget, football season, baby. The official home of the National Football Show is Hooters. Hooters KOP and the 7 locations in the Northeast area. One's nearest you. Do me a favor, go to northeasthooters.com to find that location nearest you, and you'll understand why. 40th year anniversary with the iconic Hooter girls serving you during the fall football season and exhibition football. Draft parties, everything you're going to want to have, not only just draft parties, but your fantasy draft parties. This is where you're going to want to be. Watch your favorite football on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, the official home of all Eagle fans. How about on Tuesdays? You buy 10 wings, right? You get 10 boneless free. Wings Wednesdays, one of the great 40-year anniversaries. Great staples. Had this thing for 40 years, 1983. Kids eat on free or eat for free, I should say, on Saturdays. Look, northeasthooters.com is the place you go to find one of the 7 locations. $6, 6 items, fried pickles, the steamers, everything is great for you. Once again, northeasthooters.com. And when you go to Hooters, tell them Big Sil sent you.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. EAGLES, Eagles.
Tone believes that Josh Sweat's going to have a 16-sack season. He's good, man. He's good. He's your today he's your best defensive tackle, or he's your best defensive lineman. I'm comfortable saying that until we get some reps and some game film on Jalen Carter. I'm comfortable. I don't know if he'll be. Hey, let me say this to you. If you ever trust me on what Jalen Carter is and what Jordan Davis can be and Josh Sweat, you might have the best defensive line in the National Football League in 3 years. Like, I mean, you might have the best and most formidable defensive line in the league. I don't know if you'll be able to keep all them guys. But if you have Carter and Davis is who I think he is, and you allow Davis to be who he is, and Carter develops in who he can be, and Sweat continues, and Reddick on the outside, giving you like a Steeler look in the front four? Here, let me ask you this. I got to look this up for instance. I don't have my cell. What's the best year Cam Hayward had in sacks? You know, the kid that plays defensive tackle for the Steelers? What's the best sack year he's ever had? Barnett. Who's Barnett? Oh, yeah, that guy. Holy shit, my bad. Yeah, Jordan Davis is not getting 12 sacks. That's not happening. Okay. Cam Hayward's a great player. That would be a good-looking defensive line. Okay? That'd be a good-looking defensive line. Reddick, Carter, Milton Williams, backing up these guys. 10.5 sacks. Wow, man, he's a sack guy. Like, wow. Okay, no, that's not a good comparison. Cam Hayward's putting all those double-digit sack seasons together. Cam Hayward's better than Dominican Sue. Okay. Cam Jordan's a good football player too. He is. He's a good football player. But Cam Hayward putting double-digit sacks up like that every year. Man. We'll take a look. Oh, and by the way, with what I've told you in the last 2 years about your D tackles, I've been spot on. Jalen Carter lays out a 5-time Pro Bowler. Everything I've told you about your 2 DTs is coming to fruition. I told you this guy, Carter, has the makings of Jerome Brown. Has everything that you need to be phenomenal. And he's dominating now, an all-pro guard. That kid is the second highest paid guard in the league that he's throwing around in practice right now. Okay? That kid's the second highest paid guy in the league. And he's the all-pro guard. And Carter's throwing him around like a trash can. I told you he's going to be a special ball player. I told you Jordan Davis is going to be what he is. Don't get upset with that. And by the way, I've never said Jordan Davis is a bust. I'm telling you, accept what he is. Hey, how about this? If you guys had Richard Seymour, how about this comparison? If you guys had Richard Seymour and Vince Wilfork in the middle of your defense, would you be okay with that? DTs do not take 3 years to develop. See what JM says? Once again, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Corey Simon, 52 tackles, 9.5 sacks in his rookie year. Jerome Brown in 12 games, 50 tackles, 4.5 sacks. Fletcher Cox, 40 tackles, 5.5 sacks. Jordan Davis, 18 tackles, 8 solo, no sacks. Come on, man. You know when you see it. And by the way, like Dave Wannstedt just said, you know when you see a first step. He doesn't have the greatest first step. He doesn't. Okay? He doesn't have a great... Can you imagine Corey Simon if he was a rookie in today's NFL with the poor lines that he had play against and they throw the ball 10 times more? He'd have 14 sacks. Corey Simon would have had 14 sacks in today's NFL instead of 9.5. Okay? Whatever, man. When you see Adama Sue in his rookie year with 10 sacks, you know he's good. When you watch Jonathan Allen his rookie year, you know he's good. When you watch the other Washington DT, you knew he was good. Those guys didn't take no time. They didn't take any time. I've told you exactly who they are your DTs the last 2 years. We've been spot on. Spot on. Spot on. Okay? I can live with Fletcher and 6.5 sacks. Or if they are situationally significant. If you get 6.5 sacks this year and Fletcher Cox plays 28 plays a game, I don't know how you don't sit there and go, okay. Okay? That's a good year. Okay, that's a good season. By the way, once again, we'll just let it play out. We'll just let it play out again. We've been spot on about the 2 DTs. We're going to take a look at week 2 of the NFL, and 2 and 3 is traditionally where you start to get your preparation going. We'll reset a little things too as well. Hit the like button. Hour number 3, Power Hour. Please keep it right here on the National Football Show.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up,
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Let me ask you something. Who do you think has more overall skilled talent, Deshaun Watson or Jalen Hurts? Who has more overall skill? Overall talent, Watson. Man, Tone, and I'll add the addendum question to it here in a minute. Micah goes, it's a wash. I don't think it's close. Hurts is not a better talent, General. Your emotions are getting the best of you when you say that. Now, Kian, see guys who do that? They're doing that with their heart. Jalen does not throw a better football than Deshaun Watson. That's not true. It's not remotely true. However, once again, this goes down the same conversation. Now, look, General goes, it's hating clicks when he doesn't allow me to finish it. End of the line, end of the day, Aaron Rodgers is a more gifted passer than Tom Brady. Let's add the most important question. Who would you want to quarterback your team in a 60-minute ball game? That's the difference playing the position. You don't have to be the most gifted player to win games at that position. Hurts has been beating people with pure work ethic. That's not to say he's not talented. Correct. But Watson is just more gifted. But that doesn't always translate to wins. Right? Tom Brady, here, I'll use the same. Doesn't matter if it's Brady or Hurts. Who works harder, Tom Brady than Aaron Rodgers? Jalen Hurts. Who is a better teammate? This guy in New York, I don't know who this Aaron Rodgers is, but it looks like a new dude. But who's always been a good teammate? I really have never heard outside of that ass bag, Antonio Brown, ever talk shit on Tom Brady. Okay? That Antonio Brown's the only ass bag I've ever heard because he's just a loser. That guy is a walking train wreck and wrecking ball. It will not end well. Nobody has ever said anything negative about Jalen Hurts or Tom Brady. How about when Tom Brady was sitting behind all them guys up at Michigan, like Hurts was sitting behind all those guys at Alabama? Okay? At the end of the day, who's going to have the better resume is all that counts. Not who could throw the ball better, who's more athletically gifted, who's got more skill set. What does that have anything to do with it? And you guys can't answer an honest question. It shows you how pathetic some of you are. It's really more of a pathetic question to you to show you how ignorant some of you are. You can't answer an honest question. Right, Chad, my money's on Hurts. My money's on Jalen Hurts. Correct. But you can't answer an honest question because you just can't see sometimes through your own passions. It's okay not to be the most gifted. If you win, does it matter? I don't know why people get so bent out of shape about it. It's okay to say Hurts worked hard to get where he is. Really? I got it. You're right. Instead of riding off of talent. Isn't that the Philadelphia is all about? Isn't it? It's like Philly. Like, so here's a great example. You got one of these athletes in your own city right now. Okay? Joel Embiid. I'm taking all my. Can you imagine Jalen Hurts if he didn't like something going sideways? Do you think Jalen Hurts would take down his Philadelphia Eagles stuff off of his social media pages? Don't you think that's just beneath him? Why do I look at Jalen Hurts and I say this? Hurts would never go down that line. You know why? That kind of shit's beneath him. Joel Embiid, James Harden, these guys are fools. They're not leaders. They're sheep. You're not winning with talent. You're winning with leadership. Instead, Embiid gets gobbled up by the conversation. He's showing you right now he's a follower instead of a leader, and putting his foot down and standing up for his teammates that he has to go to battle with this coming fall. Instead, what does he do? He gets caught up in the tidal wave and acts like a baby. He is such a loser. Your MVP, not me. I'll take Jimmy Butler's all night long. I'm going someplace with Jimmy Butler. 2 finals in 4 years. This guy couldn't lead you to water. He is such a loser. And I wouldn't want to be here either because the organization sucks. But man, what a loser Joel Embiid is. Total loser. Philly wants to have it both ways. They want to be the underdog and be the favorite at the same time. We have to learn to live with our identity and take it to the grave. I love the identity of the city. I'd rather be you than somebody from New York or LA thinks it's entitled to be given to you like that. Great. I'd rather be that. I'd rather have people look at me and go, man, that dude worked for everything he's ever gotten. Okay? When you rather, why do you, like some of you, run from your identity? That's a merit badge, dog. Shouldn't be ashamed of it. The Texans and the Browns are similar. Watson got the team to the playoffs. That's hard to do, especially in the AFC. Deshaun Watson's a tremendous football player, tremendous talent. Now, the question will he be a winner? And can he take talent around him? He's got a talented football team. Okay? Hurts is better than you think. Who said he's not? I'll say this one more time to you, dude. If Jalen Hurts was the quarterback on that Chiefs team, they'd be lucky to win 8 games. If he was in Buffalo, they'd be lucky to win 8 games. He's got a lot of football talent around him. Better take advantage of it. Because soon that won't all be around you. Now, I'll say this to you, too, also about Hurts. You think that Jalen Hurts is going to have in the next 4 years the same talent around him that he has these last 2 seasons? Because this is something new. Eagles have never had good wide receivers, ever, as a tandem, ever. Quite frankly, you've really never had really any great wideouts. You've had a handful. Quick, T.O. for a year. The rest of them were good to really good, but nothing exceptional. Jeremy Maclin is not one of the greats. Deshaun Jackson is the cheap man's version of Tyreek Hill. These guys aren't exceptional. They're not Devontae Adams. Okay? Now this is the best wideout group you've ever had. This is something new. And there's something to be said that you've never had a 100-catch season from a wideout, ever. In the history of your franchise. This is something new. Not a rip. Can you take advantage of this now? See here, the Eagles are. I would say this. The Eagles are completely taking advantage. The Niners aren't. Do you know what the Niners are hanging their hat on? How many games does Hurts win if he's on the Texans? 4. If Patrick Mahomes is on the Texans, 10. Because he proves it in KC. Okay? Look at what the Niners are doing right now. Look at what they're doing. Do you know what they're saying? They're doing this. Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan said today, Brock Purdy would have to absolutely implode not to be the starting. This dude loves Mahomes. What's not to love? I love greatness. What's not to love about greatness? You love mediocrity? They're telling you today in San Francisco that Brock Purdy would have to implode. How do you know Brock Purdy's good? Because he went on a good run? I saw Cooper Rush go on a good run last year. Does that mean he's a franchise quarterback? Boy, they're hanging their entire hat on that dude and hoping and wishing that that dude is who they think he is, because he is not. I am not sold he's going to play like. I am totally not sold on him. I am totally not sold. And the Niners are trying to tell you that they're banking on Brock Purdy. So they named him the starting quarterback for week 1. And he's not even really been in any kind of scrimmage or any practices. That just shows you how shitty the quarterback situation in San Francisco is. I mean, you are not taking advantage of your roster. Philly is. Philly is. Bear. Sills, the fans don't like when you tell them the truth. You're better off lying to them. They'll love you more. Well, hey, Bear. As I tell most of the people like JM and some of these other guys in here, they'd rather be lied to than told the truth to. Most people in life would rather be lied to so they can feel good about themselves when they put their head on their pillows, instead of knowing what reality is each and every single day to get yourself better. Most people are like that. They'd rather be lied to. Because that's most people are C students, Bear. Most people are C students. Okay? The truth, like Kirk Cousins is better than Jalen. Why, Eric? Your general manager thought that too last year. Look at Eric making it seem because I said Cousins is a better thrower than Jalen. That's a fact. He'll never put up the kind of career that Kirk Cousins has put up. That doesn't mean he's going to win games and be at the end have a better one-loss resume in the postseason. Jalen's 2-2. We'll see how it plays out. But your general manager and nobody in Philadelphia last year thought that Jalen Hurts was going to be the future quarterback of the team, including the GM. So don't make it sound like it was just me saying that. Your own organization said it with their actions so they can get 2-1s so they could have went back into the April draft to get a quarterback. Okay? Don't make it sound like Howie Roseman didn't say the same thing, because he did. Okay, Howie and I were wrong. Congratulations, you win. Get this. Did Cousins lose his first Super Bowl? No, but Garoppolo did. So, Scott, I'll compare him to Colin Kaepernick and Jimmy Garoppolo. Congratulations. It's a pretty good comparison, huh? Jalen Hurts is in the same boat. If you want to use the Super Bowl as a metric, Colin Kaepernick and Jimmy Garoppolo got the Super Bowls too and lost. Are they the same? Actually, Garoppolo's 5-2 in the postseason. What's Jalen done in the postseason more than him? Nothing. Do you really want to use that metric? Garoppolo has gone to Green Bay and won games on the road. He's gone to Green Bay and beaten Rodgers. You beat Daniel Jones and Christian McCaffrey. Burrow has to beat Patrick Mahomes and has in the regular season. Okay? All those guys, Burrow's gone to 2 straight conference title games. Cincinnati. He turned the culture around. There was already a built-in culture in Philly. Make it sound like that guy has done something that's exceptional. You think Jalen Hurts getting to a Super Bowl is exceptional? Well, then you have to put that same metric to Garoppolo and Kaepernick, don't you? Were they exceptional? Remember something. Colin Kaepernick made $17.1 million a year. What was it, 7 years ago? He was considered one of the highest paid guys in the league. I'm not even going to bring up the Wentz story anymore because I'm sick of it. He was not all-pro. He was second-team all-pro. Everyone close to the team knows without a doubt the Eagles almost had Watson or Wilson. McMullen has already confirmed this. They love Hurts so much they won't listen to people who follow the team for a living. It's just wild. No, Tone. I know. Again, because it comes down to people liking to be lied to. Okay? Speaking of, before we get to the upcoming games this week, help me out on this one. You know, I saw Russell Wilson in that game this past weekend. And Sean Payton left him in for a pretty good spill, didn't he? They left him in there for a little bit, didn't they? Why do I sit here today and go, you know, I don't know. There's a part of me that wants it to be. There's a part of me that acts like some Philly fans. He'll get it right. But there's also the common sense in me that says this. I don't know. You know, because I watched him and I went, did you come away feeling good about Russell Wilson watching him play? You know what? No. And I go, man, can this guy have absolutely fallen off the map like that fast? Man, he just does not look like the guy that we used to say, let Russ cook. And look, and I think a lot of people like him. I like him too. But man, I come away going like this. I don't know. Like, do I think he's still an elite quarterback? I don't think I do. Do I want to give him the benefit? I so do. I mean, because look, remember people were saying that maybe Brady should be replaced by Garoppolo after the Chiefs beat the shit out of him on that Thursday night game. And, you know, then he goes on to win a couple more Super Bowls. Made Jonathan Gannon look good. Hard to do. I think you need to feel two quarterbacks. I think you need to feel a little bit better coming out of preseason. Dak and Russell Wilson. I want to feel better. I want to feel better about those saying, okay? I remember Dan saying Wilson is better than Hurts. Forte, I remember your general manager making a trade for him and having it down on paper, and everything was signed, sealed, and delivered, and the only reason he's not a Philadelphia Eagle is because Russell Wilson voided it. End of story again. This guy's the dumbest guy in here. You are stupid, man. Your general manager signed off on a deal. He was an Eagle. He voided it. And I'm talking about, okay, so wait, he goes like this. He's talking about me. Yes. So did everyone else. Your GM too said it. Oh, it was my take? So it's my take is more of a powerful statement than the general manager of the Eagles giving Russell Wilson a signed 5-year, $300 million contract. That's a new one. That's a new one. That's a new one, Tone. That is a new one. Sileo's take is stronger than the general manager's actions on giving that guy a 5-year contract at $300 million almost. The power of Big Sills, hard at work. Thank you, Forte. Now I know I'm getting places. Now I know it's working. Now I know it's working. And by the way, Deshaun Watson went to the highest bidder. Deshaun Watson was bribed to go to Cleveland for $230 million guaranteed. How you doing? Yeah. I love it. So Andrew Barry and Howie Roseman giving deals to two guys that the Eagles were looking at. But Big Seals, you said it. Oh, I know. I agreed with the GMs. This is awesome. Yeah. This is awesome. Holy cow. Yes, sir. I love it. Yeah. See that, Tone? Big Seal's got more power with people than the GM of the Eagles and the GM of the Browns. Watson didn't want to come to Philly either. No, he didn't. Yes, he would. No. See, Ray's wrong. Ray's wrong. What are you talking about? He didn't want to come to Philly. Cleveland bribed him to go. If you would have bribed him, he'd have went to Philly. Under no circumstances, he said. And the guy who covers the Texans said it on my show the day before. Under no circumstances was he going to Cleveland. Well, the circumstances changed when Jimmy Haslam got on an airplane. He got on an airplane and bribed him. What do you mean he wouldn't have come to Philly? Are you crazy? 230 million reasons. That's right, Big Pickin'. 230 million reasons, baby. Watson was just looking for the best contract. Okay, sure. Okay. Watson said out of his own mouth he'd never play in Cleveland either. Oh, wait, 230 showed up. Fully guaranteed, dude. If Philly would have offered him fully guaranteed deal, he'd be in Philly. He almost was going to be in Atlanta and Carolina. But the Browns bribed him. That's right, Tone. He was going to go home to Atlanta, where he's from. Played his college ball in that neck of the woods. Damn right. How you doing? Damn. Man, I'm having fun today. I am having a ton of fun today. Yes, sir. Hey, to see how some people see football and how they look at things and how they look at people, what they say, is quite entertaining. It is. It's fun. All right. Yep. Time to do this. Week 2 and 3. Okay? Okay? The people you are talking to, no, Lucius, 95% of the Philadelphia sports fans are the most intelligent sports fans I've ever talked to. The 5% of these JM guys and these Fortes and Quans and all these other guys, these are guys that just call up radio shows every day, 70 times a week to get on the air and talk shit to a host. So I know how to handle that. I would say it's been like 32 years now. I know how to do this. It's all good. Okay? These are the guys that call the radio station 700 million times a day and then call up every show to get their voice on there, talk shit to someone. They're very simple. Okay? Very simple. It's not hard. But I love those guys because they're tremendous content. Because when you get fools on, oh, God, it's the greatest. Oh, no, Lucius, come on, don't discourage them. I need these guys to continue being who they are. Okay? It's okay. I love it. You know, get 5 guys in the room. You know the guy that's, hey, let me tell you this. JH, when you sit in the old 700 section, right? And you got guys sitting in the 700 section, right? Follow me here, Tone. Don't discourage them. Hold on, Tone. You're sitting in the 700 section at the old vet, right? And you got 2 dudes down there that are just toolboxes. You got the crew up there. You're having a good time. Everybody's eating brats and burgers and hot dogs and shit and drinking beers, talking shit, hammering the Cowboys, whatever. And you got one drunken asshole up there. What you do is you sit there. He's part of the entertainment. Like Quan and rest of these guys. These guys are like JM. They're like part of the entertainment. Don't discourage them. I used to love watching them dudes at the games. Watch a game. Watch a side freak show. It's always good. Don't discourage them, please. Hey, Barb, right? 700 level. You go to the 700 section at the vet. You always get those couple guys down there. You go, look at this guy down here. You think he'll fall off the railing? The village idiots, right? So, hey, you know what? Every village needs a few idiots. It's all good. Come on, man. We welcome it. It's all good, man. Hey, dude, like I told you before, the only people I hate are Nazis. Other than that, I don't really hate anybody. How you doing? All right. Oh, by the way, I wrote this down. I got some intel for you. What position do you think the Eagles are going to be identifying in their personnel department right now? Who do you think they're identifying? And what I mean by college scouting, not pro personnel, but college scouting, who do you think they're identifying right now? So here's what I'm going to do, because most of the Philly media lies to you and tells you they cover college football. They don't. Hey, I would say this, that my friend Ellis, he does like college football. He's one of the only guys that I've heard that talks college football. The rest of them all lie to you and pretend that they cover college football. I think D Gunn does too. I'll take that back. D Gunn likes college football. But most people in Philly, because it's a pro sports town, would you guys know who the number 1 player outside of Caleb Williams is coming out of the college draft? Would you know any of those? You wouldn't. Okay? Some of you are going like this, linebacker. I'm with you, JH1. I'm with you, 100%. Corner, right tackle, linebacker, edge. Can never get away from what Tone just said, but corner. Here are the top 4 corners to keep an eyeball on, so that Big Sills is here to give you a little bit of something to look at in a foresight for April, okay? So keep an eye on these guys. Kool-Aid McKinstry, probably too high in the draft. Kid from Bama. Kalen King from Penn State. I talked to Manny Diaz about him, and they love him. Okay? They absolutely love him. Okay? I mean, the Eagles, they're identifying him Kalen King. Probably going to be down in the 20s somewhere where they could maybe jump up and maybe grab this kid. This kid King at Penn State can play. He's good. Cooper Dijon, Iowa. I have a problem with Iowa corners. I mean, I can't name you one. Bob Sanders. He's more of a safety, though. I mean, Will Johnson, Michigan. He's kind of in the second round. Could be somebody there for you. And here are your top 10 football players. And by the way, Trotter Jr. is not a top 10 player. The top linebacker in college football is Harold Perkins Jr. from LSU. He's going to be a top 4 player, maybe 5. Trotter's good. He'll be in the top 15. But these are your top 10 players that's being identified at the NovaCare Center right now. Caleb Williams is 1. Brooke Bowers, that Georgia tight end, is 2. Marvin Harrison Jr., Ohio State, wide receivers 3. Harold Perkins Jr., LSU, linebacker. LSU puts out spectacular talent. Always has, always will. Number 4, Drake Maine, UNC, quarterback. Michael Penix Jr., Washington, the kid that transferred from Indiana. Blake Corum, Michigan, running back. I think he's too small. Jordan Travis, Florida State, quarterback. I'll tell you what, I love this next kid here, boy. You talk about edge rushers. Jared Verse, FSU. Whew. Man, them nose put out them edge rushers. Brian Burns, Josh Sweat, this kid here, man, they put him out. And Michael Williams, Georgia, edge rusher. Georgia's putting out another defensive lineman. So those are your frontline guys to keep an eye on as the college football season starts next week. Okay, so keep an eye on some of them guys. Quarterback J.J. McCarthy. I mean, outside of Tom Brady, really? I don't know. Okay? I like that kid from Penn State, though, for the Eagles. Kalen King. Watch him. He's good. He's a good player. He could fit into that system, too. He could fit into that system. I think he's a good-looking football player. Dan, since you missed my super chat, Brian Johnson was a quarterback at Utah and beat Bama in the Sugar Bowl in 2009. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, hey, Brian Johnson's got a great pedigree, man. Played the quarterback position, was with Dan Mullen at Mississippi State, was also at Florida. And there's a connection, too, between Howie and him. Howie's a Gator. And so, probably Dan Mullen recommended him as well. Yeah, I mean, so there's the connection. He's got great ties into Florida. So let's take a look at some of this here, though. Week 2 and week 3, you're starting to set your roster. Now, do I think the Eagles will game plan Cleveland? No, because of these organized team practices. By the way, I hear the Eagles had a really good day today. Okay? They had a really good day today. You're probably going to see so much vanilla. Would I think Jalen will play? Why? Maybe the 3rd preseason game? You know what I mean? Maybe the 3rd one. But I'm not expecting anything on that Thursday. Probably so vanilla. You don't want to show anything. And nor does Cleveland. Because they've done all their work this week. They're not going to go out there and all of a sudden just start banging heads and try to win a ball game. And nor would I. I got all my frontline work with my frontline guys in organized practices, right? Friday games, Carolina at New York. I want to see more from Bryce Young. If they don't protect him, he won't make it past 4 games. He will not. They need to do a better job at protecting him. The Giants, I just don't see the Giants with their wide receiving core. I mean, Daniel Jones, do you think the Giants upgraded? Do you think they upgraded? I don't think so. The Bengals, they're kind of floating on water right now, waiting for Burrow to get back. That's funny, JH. Bryce Young is Jimmy the Cricket. Jimmy Cricket. Okay? Jacksonville, Detroit. I want to see more consistency with Trevor Lawrence. Doug plays his guys, doesn't he? Detroit, how's that running game going to be? It's a brand new running game. By the way, I think their secondary, let's keep an eye on that. Could be a downfall for them. Miami, don't play Tua, please. Houston, keep the energy up. You don't have enough talent. You got to continue just to keep gathering talent. I feel for DeMeco Ryans. I feel for him. But at the end of the day, I mean, they just don't have enough talent on that team. Yeah, I mean, Micah, I agree with you. He was good 2 series, bad 3 series. Good 3 series, bad 3. I mean, it was just so here and here. And that was with the frontline guys in. You know? Buffalo, you got to start figuring out some continuity up there. By the way, work on a run game. If you don't have a running game going by the time you start the season, shit, man, Buffalo's going to be in the same predicament they were last year. Can't run the clock out late in games, don't have a 2-minute offense, and don't have a red zone offense. You got to do some more things in there. Chicago, Dave says they're getting better. I didn't know how to read Justin Fields. Man, there was tons of checkdowns. Check down this, check down that. Then they threw that out, and DJ takes it to the house, and I'm like, okay. Indy? Hey, why do I look at Anthony Richardson and do this? Do you really see it? Man, he's a big dude. Anthony Richardson's a big dude. That's a big dude. I think he's bigger than Cam. He's a big dude. But some overthrows. And look, he's a rookie. Not going to go nuts on it, but I don't know. Buccaneers. The Jets have a good football team. The Jets have a good team. That's a good football team. New England, now you add Zeke. What does that mean, actually? He's practicing. I forget who their organized team practices are, but he's practicing with them. Is it the Giants? I think they're practicing. But what does Zeke bring to that offense? Red zone? I mean, what does he bring? Right? Green Bay, who's Jordan Davis? Tennessee. Ryan Tannehill, I heard, is having a good camp. It's not a shocker. Minnesota, how are you replacing 1,200 rushing yards? Okay. Oh, that's what we got to hit on. Let's do that here. Let's do that here for a second. Dalvin Cook to the Jets. What does that mean? Whew. Those 2 wideouts. Aaron Rodgers. Their interior line is decent. Their tackles are not. So to me, you're going to have to do a lot of 3-step drop stuff because you got to get that football out quick because you can't sit back there in a 7-step, maybe a lot of rollouts. You're asking a 40-year-old guy to do rollouts because you can't block. That could be an issue. They got a lot. They got the best defense in the league. Their linebackers are good. They got 2 great corners, young. Their defensive line is good. Man, the Jets are loaded. This is the best Jets. Sills, is the Jets O-line good? C+. C+. Is it Lions, Ravens, Eagles, Browns? No. Those are elite O-lines. Okay? Those are elite. So their tackles are not very good. I got to figure that out. But, man, you get Dalvin Cook in there, and with a quarterback like him, and he knows what he brings to, like, the screen game, Dalvin Cook can catch some passes in the perimeter. He's a pass-catching guy, too. He's a good football player. Yes, sir. He's going to bring a lot to the table. Kansas City, Arizona. You know what's crazy about Arizona? So they're saying that Kyler Murray might be ready to go for the opener, but they're not sure if he's thinking he's ready. Man, I would not want that guy to be my captain of my ship. No way. That guy's a guy that runs you aground. Denver, San Francisco, the Niners were terrible. Denver, Raiders dominated San Fran. Maybe there's something there. The Rams have nothing. Dallas, Seattle. Seattle's good. Dallas, you want to feel better about Dak, I think. Sunday, New Orleans. New Orleans is going to be a team that's going to win home field advantage in the NFC. Mark my words. They don't play with soul. They have the worst schedule in the league, and they got a pretty good football team. They don't play anybody. Look at it. It looks exactly like the Eagles of a year ago. They have no one on that team. I mean, there's no schedule. They don't play anybody good. Monday night, Baltimore, Washington. That'll be an interesting one. See if Harbaugh plays Lamar Jackson. Saints look good, dude. They do. All right. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. E-A-G-L-E-S. Eagles.
Big Show. Please hit the like button. Appreciate y'all coming aboard as you have, and you continue to make the show grow. And one of the most watched shows in Philadelphia. Thank you very much. Want to say this again to you. So these mouthpieces known as quarterbacks. By the way, if I'm making $55 million, am I putting my ass on the line for you? I don't know. I don't know. You got Chris Jones that wants to be paid, and he's part of the process for you to win a Super Bowl. He's important. Now, here's something Mahomes says. Does Mahomes have to say anything when he's taking haircuts and not being the highest paid guy in the league? Because you know what Patrick Mahomes can bark back and say? Dude, I'm the 10th highest paid quarterback in the NFL, and I'm by far the best. Don't talk to me about being public. I'm the guy that took the haircut for you to be in a position for you to get your $30 million. So don't talk shit to me. There's a part of me that says that also. Okay? You know, he is a guy who makes that possible because he doesn't take the max money. See, you got guys out there that'll take the max money and they won't give a shit about anything around them. Should they? I don't know. Some people chase money. Some people chase legacies. That's the difference between greatness and people who want to be paid. There's nothing wrong with either. It's a preference. Aaron Rodgers wanted to be the highest paid player, and that's why his resume's never been fulfilled. He's better than Brady. He's more athletic than Brady. He throws a better football than Brady, but Brady took haircuts for 20 years. Why? He reinvested in himself and in his roster. He invested in the people around him to get where he needed so that now, post-football, he's making $357 million a year with Fox. See, Brady saw the long run. He played the long game. Most people today play the short game. I get it. It's a preference. It's a preference. Okay? Brady invested in himself. He knew that if he took the most money, he couldn't win in New England. Couldn't win anywhere. He didn't really start getting paid the giant money till he got to Tampa. Most of the people today, like look at the situation in New York with Saquon Barkley and with Daniel Jones. These two guys like each other, worked out with each other, are friends, need each other to win games, but they had to pick or choose which one they were going to franchise tag, and they went with the running back because it's the lesser position. And they gave the less. Get this. Here shows you how whack this whole system is. Daniel Jones is the lesser player, but the more valued position. So they paid the better player less money, and Barkley, and tagged and paid more to the lesser player. How are you going to win like that? You have to have a fundamental understanding that your franchise guy is willing to renegotiate, have off-ramps for organizations. Guy wants a renegotiated deal? Sure. That's why you have these off-ramps. I need a player. Go to the quarterback. He's got the most money. Here's a bag of money. Okay. You don't have a lot of people willing to do that. Okay? The position, and so, like, Mahomes, does he have to be public? I don't know. I mean, it'd be cool to hear one of these quarterbacks who have turned into mouthpieces and, you know, they get all the money. No quarterback holds out. Guy wants to earn a little extra money. and want to be paid market value. I didn't hear, get this, I didn't hear Dak barking about Zach Martin in Dallas. Zach's scheduled to make $50 million, $49.5. Zach Martin just wanted to be paid on scale with the rest of the top guards in the league, which he is. Cowboys, they ponied up and gave him some money. But you got to pull teeth with these guys. That's a great thing about the owners. They will pay the quarterback. Because you know why? It's the flower arrangement on the table. Makes everything look good. The rest of it, like weebles. Expendable pieces. Don't give a shit about you. It's funny. I think one of the greatest assets that Howie Roseman, the general manager of the Eagles, has, he never falls in love with players. He falls in like with players. Because it comes a day where you have to do this. Hey, man, guess what? The travel agent will be with you. Take care of all expenses. Hey, man, I just bought a house. Hey, man, that's what it is. This is the business of it. We're moving on. We're going to elevate a guy off our practice squad. And, we need the roster spot and the cap money. The travel arrangements will be ready. Your ticket will be in your locker. Good luck to you. That's the harsh reality of the league. Bought a house, kids in school. Who gives a shit? No one cares. What's that got to do with winning? Your personal shit doesn't matter to me. It's about winning ball games. That's how front offices in the NFL run. Right? What I just did. Hey, man, we really love you. That's what happens with the Cowboys. The Cowboys get into that dumbass talk. Man, I really like Zeke. I really like Amari. You keep him too long. You overpay him. Then before you know it, your cap is imploded. New England made the tough cuts. You know why New England was consistent every year? Because they looked at a guy like Darrelle Revis, no matter who he was, and guys with still talent in the gas can, they moved. They moved the Hall of Fame defensive tackle and Richard Seymour to the Raiders and got draft equity back. They weren't going to pay him $20 million. Never happened. They weren't going to pay Darrelle Revis top corner money. They didn't even pay. Get this. Stephon Gilmore wins the NFL Defensive Player of the Year award, 19 up there. They moved him to Carolina the following year. They're not paying people. They're not upsetting their salary cap. And that's kind of what the Eagles do. They balance their cap so well. And what I like about it is that they handpick certain positions. You were not paying. You we are. You we aren't. You we are. That's how you win. And that's why they're in it every year now. You know, I'll tell you this. They learned so much from that 4-win team. I think they learned more from that 4-win team of a few years ago than they learned from the 17 championship team. Okay? I totally believe that. They learned about all their ups and downs and failures. You learn by failure. You don't learn by being a front runner. Nobody learns by being a front runner. Okay? Nobody. Twiz, biggest bust in draft history. Absolutely. You give up 3 ones for Trey Lance. You gave up almost half a decade of your future in San Francisco for one dude who can't play. I don't know about you. And now you're putting and pinning your hopes on a guy who was the last player drafted and had a good run last year. Good luck to you. Wow. You talk about being on a limb. You talk about being on a tree branch. Holy shit, man. I mean, you're on a twig. Hoping you got that right. That guy, Kyle Shanahan, is overrated and overhyped and thinks more of himself. Win a game, dude, that matters. Then we'll start calling you one of the elite coaches. You ain't won shit yet, guy. All right. Appreciate it. You guys have been great. I mean, last couple of days, absolutely spectacular. I appreciate you guys watching us too when we jumped on with Sports Take earlier. Big Joe, Xander, thank you very much. Tone, you keep it up, dude, man. Your stuff was great today. You've filled in for Mr. Ellis, and you did such a great job there, man. We couldn't do the show without you. 3 to 6 Eastern. Don't forget, we'll also catch you on the flip side.